I'm Christy Abasher with the UW-Madison Division of Continuing Studies, and I help plan and provide a whole range of behavioral health programming. And we are particularly excited about our motivational interviewing courses and are very happy that you decided to join us today to talk about motivational interviewing and the courses that we provide to help increase your skills. And so based on the survey that you completed when you registered, about 40% of our participants today will be new to MI. So welcome. We hope you learn a lot, and we're excited that you're interested in pursuing some training related to MI. About 40% of you have had some training, and we have courses that can help you improve your skills. And about 15% of you are the cheerleaders for MI, and there's even courses you can take to help do that as well. We have a really expert panel here today to talk about MI and the training that we do. So I am going to spend no more time babbling at you, and I'm going to turn it over to Scott Caldwell, who will then introduce the rest of the panel members. So thank you so much, panel. Thank you for participants for joining us today, and let's have an exciting hour. Scott.
Thanks for organizing this, Christy, and welcome everyone. My name is Scott, and I am among many members of the Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers, otherwise known as MINT, who have for the past decade contributed to the instructional design and the teaching of motivational interviewing with UW Division of Continuing Studies. And let's do a quick round of introductions of the current instructors. Adrienne, take it away.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Allen, and I've been a member of the Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers since 2020. I'm a social worker by training, and several years ago, I was actually a student in this very class. And my instructors and mentors, many of them are here. Many of them are also not here. And I am so lucky that I get to be part of this community, and I'm so pleased to be here as one of the fellow instructors.
My name is Laura Saunders. I am thrilled that Adrienne learned motivational interviewing because I get to now work with her all the time. So talk about a payoff. I have been teaching and training motivational interviewing for about 2.5 decades. I became a member of the Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers in the fall of 2007. And I teach the beginning course, I teach the intermediate course, a bunch of things. So I'm glad to be here today to tell you about what we do. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melody Cole. I have a background in clinical nutrition and diabetes education, and I'm really thankful to be here. Thankful that I learned motivational interviewing in 2008, was able to take the competency course actually from Laura and Scott, and to also network with Adrienne and other members on this panel and other members of MINT. I became a member of the Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers in 2015, and I am now a co-instructor in the Advancing MI course.
And I'm Scott, and this certificate course, all the learning that is offered by UW with motivational interviewing really was an incubator for me to dig into training design and delivery, and how do you do fidelity reviews and coding and coaching and feedback on learners' fidelity review results. And with that as an incubator of my own learning, because as Adrienne mentioned, we are all a community of learners here. I am now the lead at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services in the motivational interviewing implementation project, working with organizations to figure out how to get motivational interviewing into routine services. And so before we segue into the first panel, Christy, you want this to be kind of interactive.
Yes, as much as possible. So I forgot to do my real job with the introductions and let everybody know that in this version of Zoom, you can post questions that will come directly to us as a panel, and then we will try to either give you a quick response back at the end, or to kind of compile the questions in a way that will get you the answers that you need. At the end of the presentation, we will also have a QR code for you that will send you to more information. So with a large group, it's really impossible to have a lot of give and take, but you can post your questions and we will do our best to answer those for you throughout the hour. Thank you.
Yeah, so please, everyone, you're here to learn, and let's hear from you right in that question answer function of Zoom. And before, Laura, you kind of talk a little bit about the why of motivational interviewing, let me just mention that the practice, the theory, the research of motivational interviewing continues to evolve. It is in its 4th decade of existence. And I'm just going to show in the screen here the most recent edition of the classic motivational interviewing text, just published last year, 2023. And all of the instructors here are very much on top of this evolution and integrating the updates and the changes and the evolution into instructional design and the teaching of this evidence-based practice. Laura, why should we care about MI? Why am I?
Well, first, Scott, I do want to say that if you learn MI from us, it is not a requirement that you become an instructor. I was like, wow, it looks like everybody who learns MI from us becomes an instructor. That's not the case. That's not. No, we don't make you become an. You have to learn, see one, do one, teach one. Yeah. So why should you learn MI? Well, Scott has already foreshadowed a little bit of this, right? He said this science has been around for 40 years. This is no joke, right? And the stuff that has happened in the 40 years of doing research around, well, what is MI? Why does it work so well? The research is gigantic. There are 200 randomized control trials that come out yearly. There's over 200 meta-analyses. For those of you who aren't researchers, that's like the big hitter. Like that's a really big thing. There's 3,000 trainers around the world who are training motivational interviewing in 61 different languages. What we found is that motivational interviewing fits across cultures. It fits with Eastern medicine and Western medicine, and it is adaptable and flexible enough that people can use it all over the place. There's 11,000 citations for motivational interviewing yearly. And if you were to punch in motivational interviewing into your Google Scholar, you'd get 185,000 hits. So there's a lot of evidence out there, but that's just the evidence-based practice, right? Like, what's the practice-based evidence? What do we hear from people? And consistently, those of us who train motivational interviewing, and now with Zoom, and we get to have people experiment with things and go away for a while and come back and go away, and we hear, when I try this, when I work really hard at this, this works. And so that right there, right? Like you hear these wonderful stories of, I adjusted how I think, I adjusted how I talk to people, which is really what motivational interviewing is. It's how you talk to people. And you're really good at talking to people now. After taking one of our courses, you just get a little bit different, or a little bit, I hate to say better, but we just help with the intentionality of how you talk to people. And so what we know, and what that 4th edition that Scott was holding up is that MI can help you do that which you do a little bit better, a little bit in a way, a lot of it in a way that helps you feel, I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it at every single juncture. And so motivational interviewing can be used anywhere that any helper is helping another person who wants to, or maybe doesn't so much want to, but maybe needs to change and grow. That's a new part of the new edition of the textbook. It reminds us that people don't just need to change, they might want to grow. It started as a way to talk to people about their substance use disorders. That's what Dr. William Miller, the progenitor of motivational interviewing, he was a substance use disorder psychologist. Since then, it has moved into schools, physical health, mental health, corrections, worship and spiritual based, dental. I can't think of a place where you're helping people that motivational interviewing wouldn't be helpful. Some of the examples that Dr. Miller gave at our conference a couple of years ago, he said, we're using it to promote employment, to improve children's oral health, to help prevent hopelessness and dialysis patients. Huge reach. Because it's normal for people to be ambivalent about changing their behavior, this is something that good helpers want to have in their pocket. We want to be very careful. I already said this, to pay attention to our thoughts and our beliefs and our own role in another person's change. And that's what our courses do, is we just help scooch things along. You might be starting here, you might be starting here, you might be starting here. And our courses help you move your needle from wherever it is to a little bit further down on the continuum. So that's what you're going to hear about today. You're going to hear about how the courses that we're offering fit with the science. We don't spend a ton of time on the science. We let you know, like, this thing is good. Yeah, it's the bomb diggity. Absolutely. And then we spend a lot of time on practice activities so that you can leave our courses knowing what it is you came in with and getting reassurance of, yeah, I'm a darn good helper. And here I can make the decision for myself as a helper what I might want to do differently, what I might want to take from this evidence-based practice and make it practice-based evidence for myself so that my job is easier and that the people that I work with have better outcomes. Thanks, Scott.
It's a powerful set of reasons there, Laura, on why to invest in one's professional development in this evidence-based practice. So let's invest in what? Let's have a breakdown of what are some of the offerings here, and why that particular course offering could connect to some of the learning that you're describing, Laura.
I'm going to get us started with talking about the Foundations course this year. So new this year, we have added a course called Establishing a Foundation for Motivational Interviewing Skills. And this is a wonderful course developed and taught by Sue Moss. And it's a shorter course. It's about 5 hours. And this is really a great way, I think, to just start to dip your toe into what is motivational interviewing, right? If you're a brand new learner, it's really a highly interactive class, even within those 5 hours. And actually, all of our classes are really highly interactive. It's starting to set the foundation. And so we talk a lot about what we call the spirit of motivational interviewing. You're going to hear that word quite often, and it sets the tone. It starts helping the art and the science of giving you that foundation of what it might look like to practice motivational interviewing. It's designed to give you that taste because we know that MI is going to take practice over many, many weeks and years. And we're going to talk more about those courses, but in thinking about who might be the person to take this course. So as I said before, if it's someone you're just like, I'm thinking about motivational interviewing, I want to learn about it. Maybe I'm not ready to completely step in and do it, but I'm thinking about it. This is the course for that newer learner. And I recognize we have a lot of people who are interested in that. You might be someone in leadership, in a leadership position, thinking about, what would it look like to bring motivational interviewing into our agency or organization? And so maybe you're that person that's going to come in and just get a feel for what this is, and then think about having your employees really do an in-depth study later on. Another possibility is that maybe you took some courses in MI. A lot of us, my journey too, I started here and just kind of built my courses over time. You need a refresher, right? Maybe it's been a few years. You would like to come back and just tune things up a little bit. And oh yeah, this is what this is about, right? And as Scott said, we really are focused on the current edition of the textbook as well. And so we incorporate all of that new learning. Foundations really is first, about 0 to 5 hours. It is 0 to 5 hours in terms of the work that you do. And we also ask you to do a little bit of work outside the course too, just to do some self-reflecting and to get those wheels turning. that's our newer course this year. We wanted to give you something that's a little shorter than our more in-depth course for the newer learner. And my colleague, Dr. Lee, who couldn't be with us, could not be here today, she very much has a wonderful video to share her MI journey and her story. And she's going to talk to us about the next course that we have, which is the Building Competency course.
Hi, I'm Yasin Lee. I'm here to talk with you about my journey with learning motivational interviewing. I was taking care of patients who did not always want to meet with me, nor did they appreciate my great advice and recommendations. And I was feeling frustrated and looking for a better way to help people. Someone told me about motivational interviewing, and I read about it, and it made sense, but I still didn't know how to do it. So I took a one-day class where I learned the concepts, but again, still did not learn how to do this. It would be like taking a lecture on how to play piano. You still can't play piano. So I kept my ears open, and when I came across the University of Wisconsin-Madison's course, Building Motivational Interviewing Competency certificate class, I signed up. It was what I was looking for. Laura Saunders and Scott Caldwell were my instructors. We were all different in that class. There were teachers and parole officers, social workers, therapists. I was the only physician, but we all came together because we wanted to learn this language of MI and speak it more fluently. I had some anxiety signing up for this class because I knew one of the requirements was to submit a recording of myself doing MI with someone else. And no one had reviewed my work in decades. So I wasn't sure about that, but I really wanted to learn MI enough that I got over that anxiety and signed up. It turned out that recording and the feedback I got was one of the things that really advanced my practice. To get the feedback about what I'm doing well and what I could work on really helped me to focus in my brushing up my skills and improving them. I went on to take advanced MI classes in coding. And when I retired from taking care of patients in September of 2022, I joined the Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers in October that year. And I am now focused on helping people to learn MI, to train them. I wish I had learned this skill early in my professional career because I could have helped so many more people. And I hope that you will take the opportunity to learn it now. Take advantage of the class. Sometimes people who don't know anything about MI or don't know enough about it will say that it just takes too much time. They don't have time in a busy practice to use MI. And I will tell you, my practice was very busy, and I found that using MI saved me time. It saved me time because we could rapidly focus on what it was that a patient wanted to talk about, what they wanted to talk about, not what I thought they needed to talk about. I could engage with them very quickly, and I learned how to reflect and guide the conversation so that people would talk themselves into the change that they wanted. I was no longer wrestling with these people. I was dancing with them. And so I also unexpectedly found that it relieved the burden of feeling like I was responsible for their change. I had to fix them. I came to understand the truth, which is they are responsible for their own change, and my role is to be their best guide. I hope you take advantage of one of these MI classes and start your own journey to helping others more effectively.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Lee. That was just so well said. And as we continue on this roadmap or this progression here that's on the slide, we arrive at the Advancing Motivational Interviewing course. And this is for you if you've completed the competency course, or you're able to complete a motivational interview to the basic motivational interviewing treatment integrity proficiency. So it's also for you if you are really wanting to advance in your practice, if you look at yourself and say, You know, here's where I am and here's where I want to be. So this class can actually help you get there. Bill Miller once was asked a question, which was, what's the difference between knowing about MI and being MI? And his answer was about 10 years. So I would like to think that this pathway here that we've provided here for you with University of Wisconsin can actually help you get there a little bit sooner. Of course, it's all about how much practice we put in. It's all about, you know, what we put in, we will get out. But this class actually provides 20 hours of continuing education credits, 12 hours of virtual instructor-led training, and 8 hours of robust homework that we provide you. And what it does is it also provides two very important things, among others, which is 2 client scripted interviews, where you actually get a chance to talk to someone, record your work, and send it in, submit it, so that our talented MI coders can actually take a look to see what you're doing well with motivational interviewing. It also helps you identify the ingredients in MI, what makes it good MI. It's the relational foundation of partnership and empathy, the technical skills of cultivating change talk and and then softening sustained talk. It's also it takes a look at am I adherent, motivational interviewing adherent or not, and what can I do better? So it's really a good look in the mirror on how you're doing with motivational interviewing. So instructors will provide feedback, but where the magic is and where the energy is actually within those breakout rooms where you get to talk to other people like-minded, like you, who have a passion for motivational interviewing, and you can really learn and grow from one another. We do take the most current elements of motivational interviewing 4 and incorporate that into the coursework, because we really try to stay up to date and to provide you the best experience to improve your practice and to either train to fidelity or use MI for and with your patients or clients to fidelity. We're really trying to prevent that drift where we're actually giving good MI so that we're getting those outcomes that are in the literature that says that MI really, really does work. So with that, I'm just gonna toss the ball over to Laura. She's, I feel so privileged to be able to train with Laura in this class. And Laura, I'd like to ask what would you add here to the Advancing MI class?
Yeah, thank you, Melody. I think one thing to really highlight here from both the building competency and the advancing MI course, I get to teach both of those courses. I teach the advancing with Melody and the building competency with Adrian. And it is those audio recordings. When people hear audio recording, just like Dr. Lee said in her introduction, people are not like, I get to audio record myself doing practice. That's my very favorite thing. I can't wait to do that. It's not something that people rush to or really want to do. However, as we've this MI thing is very simple, but it's not easy. And it's through those audio recordings that we can truly help you get better at using MI. And it is through those audio recordings, we do them for a couple of reasons. One, we know that it is the only way to measure people's competency in motivational interviewing. Your self-assessment in the moment, unfortunately, lacks much validity. It just doesn't. People cannot estimate their own skills in the moment. I'm pretty darn good at motivational interviewing. We know that the correlation is so poor in that it's almost a negative correlation. So and the other reason that we measure motivational interviewing through a structured rubric is because we can. There's lots of evidence-based practices where we just have to hope that people are doing them. Motivational interviewing and the scientists who have contributed greatly to motivational interviewing gave us a rubric. And because we have that rubric, we can help you make sure that you are wringing out of this practice every single thing that you can. And so those audio recordings help us help you identify all of your successes, all of the things you're doing really well. And then one skill to work on that skill. The next time, work on a different skill until you're all done, right? Till it's like, check, I am practicing. I have wrung out everything I can for motivational interviewing, and I'm doing it 100% fabulous. So both of these courses, that's why we've included it. Not because we're mean or we want to torture you or make you do something that's hard for people to do. It's because the science tells us this is the way to get people really good at this. There are lots of courses out there that do not have audio recordings. And without that audio recording, we know that people just don't learn MI to fidelity. So any practitioner who really wants to learn this, audio recordings are the way to get there. Scott, did you want to add anything to audio recordings or how we are integrating the teaching and learning, what the literature tells us about that?
No, just are we ready for a summary of these levels here?
I think we would love that if you would like to offer us a summary of those levels.
Okay, so and I think there was a very good question in the Q&A box about what is the purpose of this webinar? I thought I was here to learn about motivational interviewing. What we're considering here is how do you go about learning motivational interviewing? And UW here does not have a monopoly on offering up a process of learning. And so if we just for a moment move beyond UW and these courses and these levels, there are really 4 ways to think about going about your all's learning, whether that's with UW or on your own or other resources. And the one is foundations, where you're literally dipping your toe into the water of learning. That was Adrian's metaphor. So it's dipping your toe. Now, building competency is going to focus on skills and practice and developing those skills through practice. And so now you're knee deep in the water of learning. And as I was listening to Melody and Laura describe the advancing practice, that is the plunge. That is the deep dive, because now you have somebody taking a look at your practice, direct observation of practice through audio recordings, doing a fidelity review with a formalized fidelity instrument, and you getting some feedback, which is eye-opening, Laura, as you were describing. And then the peer learning just takes that advancing practice and begins to solidify it, keep the plunge going, stay in the water. And then the MI conference is almost like, hey, we have this big body of water called Learning MI, and it's a wonderful way for a lot of people to get into that water. And Laura, do you want to say a few words about the conference coming up?
I sure would love to, Scott. Thanks. So we got together all these people that we keep saying, like, you've heard quite a bit about our interconnectedness. And that's how the MI conference started, is we were a group of people here in the state of Wisconsin who all had a passion for training motivational interviewing. And when we would get together and we would talk about MI philosophy and how to train it and what we were trying and what we were doing and all the different areas where people were applying motivational interviewing, what we learned was, wow, it would be great I really want to see Scott in action. I really want to see Melody in action. I really want to see Susan in action. These are MI trainers throughout the state. And what we also realized was that we weren't offering you all a place to go and get an update or a renewed interest in motivational interviewing. And so we said, well, guess what? We could watch each other train and learn from one another while offering something that is not offered hardly anywhere in the whole world. We've taken our MI conference and what we're doing, and we've talked about it at our international meeting, and people are like, yeah, we're just not doing a good job providing update training to people who have already learned it but want to learn more. And so we started in year one, we exceeded our expectations for attendance. We learned a lot from each other. We learned that Melody carries a large school bell in her bag. So that was like, yeah, she's like born trainer, right? Like, I mean, she's got a ding, 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 get attention. Yeah. The second year, we included a keynote. The third year, we had another keynoter, and things just kept growing in excitement and interest around our conference. COVID, of course, like everything else in the world, interrupted that flow. And after COVID, we decided, let's re-up on this, and we're going to change our location to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And how about if we do that in the summer when the UW-Madison is an especially exciting place to be, given that we are located in between two lakes, which makes it a lovely place to be. We also noticed throughout that sort of evolution of moving the conference along that we needed to respond to a beginning level, that there were people who wanted to come to our conference who didn't want an update on training, but wanted to learn about MI and then be alongside people who had already been using it. So now we have an array of pre-conferences, one of which is beginning. We also talk about integrating MI into other professions. We talk about advancing your integration with other evidence-based practices. We talk about using it at different interprofessional education, where I'm a nurse, I'm a social worker, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're an OT. Let's all learn about motivational interviewing and how we might all use it differently. So we have a course for that. So our 1.5 day conference includes keynoters. We've kept those. We have 2 keynoters this year. We have Paul Warren and Karen Gottney, who are recognized internationally. Again, a wide array of breakout sessions that will be just fine for every single level of learner. We work really hard to make sure that no one feels lost and no one is bored. So we make sure that, again, no matter where your needle is starting, you've got something that you can take away, that you can put in your backpack and take back to your work and improve the way that you serve the people you work with. So we hope that you will consider joining us in Madison, Wisconsin, August 7th through the 9th this year. Anything else? Oh, I wrote here, it's new, challenging, and fun. What did I forget, guys, about our conference?
It's unique too. I mean, there's very few regions that have a dedicated conference bringing practitioners and leaders and champions of motivational interviewing together in the same place.
Yeah. We have board members from our international organization who are willing to come to our conference because it is so unique. People just haven't had the opportunity to offer this to practitioners in their areas. So, yeah.
Okay, panel, final thoughts on these levels of learning MI before we get to our next question. Final thoughts.
I just wanted to also add in the piece for the peer learning group, because that's new this year. And that really, this is something that we have been wanting to add for a while. And it's an exciting place, right? So we have all these course offerings, and then we go to the conference, and then we have this challenge like, okay, but I want to keep my skills up. What do I do next, or where do I go? And so this new group really offers a chance for people to come back after taking either the building competency course or the advancing MI course, and even attending the conference. We've opened it up to all of those attendees to say, come back with us and let's once a month, let's have some fun together over the lunch hour and really have a chance to practice. And so, maybe I remembered this concept from this training a few months ago, and can I come back and talk about it? And so currently we have it set up so that we have an opening, engaging activity. We do some kind of really dedicated focused skill builder for a time, and then we engage in community discussion. And we started at this end of this year, and it's been just so wonderful to bring people together. And what's different about this group is that it's learner led, right? So we provide the prompts. We've taught in other classes, but here we're really the facilitators, and we're looking to the wisdom that's in the room. And I'm just seeing some really neat things coming from it. And really, we get a chance to hear from others and how people are using MI in their day-to-day practice. So this is something that we will continue to offer starting in the fall and spring of next year as well. And this is just a nice way to keep those skills, because you've invested a lot of time and energy into this. And so excited to be able to add this as well this year.
So that peer learning extends advancing practice, extends the plunge, taking the plunge. And so let's zoom out here a little bit, Annel, and what do we know about, in general, improving motivational interviewing skills in the practice? And how does, dipping the toes, getting knee deep, taking the plunge, how does that relate to building out these skills as part of that ongoing learning? And so, like Melody said, so we don't have to take 10 years to get really good at this. We can kind of accelerate the learning process. What do you all think about that?
I can start, and we keep saying it. It takes time and practice, right? And that's why we have a variety of courses to get people interested, and to keep coming back and to keep learning. I want our learners to know that when we design activities, we really try to keep the variety of learning needs in mind. So there are some things that are done asynchronously. And also when we come together, we're coming together very intentionally, because we want to give you that time to practice it with one another. So there, especially for like the building competency course, there's asynchronous work that you can do. We want to be giving you that space to practice those skills, right? We have the conversation, can you learn MI from a textbook? And, we want to give you that human to human interaction. Coaching and feedback continues to be very important. And we have fun with it, and we try to make it a very safe space, right? And so it takes a lot of courage to say, I'm going to try something new, or I'm going to have someone listen to my feedback. You heard Dr. Lee say no one had listened to her work in years. And yet you also heard her say the investment was so worth it. And so we're just excited to invite people to learn with us.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and add onto that. So the progression is designed, like Scott said, to dip your toe in and then go all the way through. And once you're in advancing, you're swimming or treading water, right? So motivational interviewing is with intention. We don't read about swimming. You certainly can, right? But you really need to get in and practice. And that's what the progression of these courses do, is they really, really help you practice. And they also really help you know what to practice, right? What makes good motivational interviewing? So there's the relational foundation and the technical skills. We take all of that and have these interactive learnings with the instructors and within the breakout rooms that really help you progress to get comfortable in the deep end or wherever you choose to be as an MI learner. One of the things that I first heard when I was training MI at a major health system in the area was, oh, I already do this. I just don't call it that. Well, one thing I'd like to point out is that motivational interviewing is with intention. There's certain tasks or processes that you work through to cultivate change talk, where you're mining for change talk. And it just doesn't, sometimes it falls out of the sky, and at other times, we're all ambivalent about something, and we really need to take time to learn the skills to cultivate that change talk so that we can help patients or clients resolve ambivalence and change and grow, right? Which is the new terminology that's been added to MI4. So it is with intention, and what we hope to do and aim to do is to provide you that path to get where you would like to be.
Yeah, and I'll add to your STEM question, Scott, that placing yourself along the continuum of offerings is really important. And I would have to say that we more often get people placing themselves too high than too low. So one of the things that we know about motivational interviewing, and this is another one of those practice-based evidence things that I hear from people, like I'll see people, I'll teach something, I have this weird ability to be able to remember people. So I'll see somebody come back, I'll be teaching at some conference or doing something, and I'll be like, hey, you've been in one of my classes before, what you doing here again? Like, nope, I need the review. And I'll check in with them. Was that boring? Like I told the same jokes and the same slides, and they'll say, nope, I got something different this time. So whether you've had different instructors or the same instructors, erring on the side of review or repeating is probably better than stretching yourself really, really hard, because that overreaching is, and for having forgotten or not felt completely solid on those basics, makes those things that Melody was just talking about, those technical skills, really difficult. And so we find that, well, and we can help you with this if there are good descriptions on our website that tell you, like, here's what you should be able to do, where you should put yourself. Oftentimes people have questions about that, and you can reach out to us and ask for that kind of help, because we really do want you to land in the right place. Yeah. So, and it's not for course selling, it's for your sanity, right? We really want you to be at a spot where you're challenged, because we're going to challenge you, but not so challenged that we're using words and vocabulary that you're like, I have no idea what that means. So just being mindful about where you start. That's all I have for that, Scott.
So can you learn motivational interviewing from a book? I've got a book right here.
Yeah, you know what I've heard, Scott? I've heard from the guy who wrote the book. The guy who wrote the book, who sold how many, I think it's on the cover, isn't it? 450,000 copies of this book in print. He's a lot of people have read that book. And what does he tell us about people reading that book? He says, I've never met a person who could do motivational interviewing from reading the book.
And so, and a lot of us don't even really, read books, so can you learn motivational interviewing going to a workshop, at like a conference, a seminar, like a one-shot sort of thing, which that is the way we do a lot of professional development in a lot of human service systems. Can you learn MI from a workshop?
Nope. You can't. And you know what? You can't even learn MI from one of our workshops. All that you need to know. Yeah. Right? It is just like everybody said, it is not a one-shot trainings do not make people proficient in motivational interviewing. And that's why we've put some thought into progression, into having things where it's not one, we have an introduction, and Adrian told you what the purpose of that introduction is. Same at a conference, if you go to a 1 hour or a 2 hour or 4 hour, that you'll get really excited about motivational interviewing. And those of you who are at Fidelity might get a little boost, a little reminder, like that can work. But in terms of thinking you're going to be able to do all of the complex things that MI requires of you, if you only have a short amount of time to learn it, is putting an incredible, impossible burden on your back.
So you can't really learn an evidence-based practice from a book. A training, a one-day training, a one-shot training is a good start. It's that dipping the toe into the water, Adrian, that you talked a little bit earlier about. It's really what happens after training. It's getting a look at your practice. It's getting feedback on your practice. It's setting goals and engaging deliberate practice. And that can accelerate when you're with peers who are also learning. and you're kind of in a peer learning from one another. And then a conference helps to just kind of notice, hey, I'm a part of a much larger community than is in my agency or my own practice. So that's a pretty good summary of what we know about learning motivational interviewing. There's a lot of research on that. And final thoughts, because we're just about at the wrap up here, Christy.
I'd just like to add a little bit more to that, what you said, and emphasize the coaching and feedback. You know, when you find someone who can be your mentor, if you will, and they can give you that, whether it be in the moment feedback or shortly after, you know, the conversation feedback, it's tailored towards you and it's meant for you. It's not meant for anyone else. And that kind of learning, that individualized, tailored learning, of course, all done with and in the spirit of MI. And, you know, and your coach is modeling and being this way of being. And it's really helping to bring on the MI learner to change and grow their skills. So I just wanted to add a little bit to that, Scott, of what you said.
And Scott, can we kind of maybe as a wrap up kind of summarize what MI is, summarize what MI is for that 40 or so percent of the audience that is new to MI, right? So you have been fabulous cheerleaders. And so if they want to go back to their agencies and kind of advocate for themselves, or they want to learn more, like what is just a good description of what this is and why they may want to learn more?
Yes. And by the way, many of you in the Q&A have made some comments about, hey, what about starting with what is motivational interviewing? And such good feedback. And I think that was like a real oversight as we were kind of designing and putting this together. So what is motivational interviewing? In its most recent iteration, the evolution currently is it is a practice based on 4 fundamental tasks. And the first task is to engage with the person that you're working with. And that is an essential component of motivational interviewing practice, which is the relational foundation. And we have core skills that very efficiently, very rapidly build that working alliance or that working relationship. Those skills are summarized by OARS. Some of you may have heard of the OARS skills of motivational interviewing. And OARS stands for ask open questions, look for strengths and affirm, listen really carefully and reflect. And then when you feel like you got a good working connection with that engaging, then offer a summary of what you've heard. And so that's the first couple of minutes of every encounter with every client, patient, or consumer in your work. That's getting MI into your routine practice, engaging. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. So the next task of motivational interviewing is coming to agreement on the agenda. What are you going to work on? What is the focus of your meeting with this person? And now we're starting to get into program-specific things, agency-specific things, service-specific things. Your scope of practice as a social worker, a counselor, a doctor, a nurse is really going to dictate part of the focusing. And as Laura talked a little bit about, motivational interviewing has been shown to be very effective across a wide range of different areas that you would focus on your work. But it requires a task to kind of come to agreement with the person. What are we working on here, given the different options? Once that agreement is established, then the next task is evoking. And that's really where it becomes motivational interviewing, where you're having a change conversation with the person you're working with on that specific area of focus. And You're going to explore the person's motivation. What are their reasons? What is their perceived importance for making this change? Why would they want to make this change? What are some of the values that this person has in their life that would align with this change? Oh, how might the person go about doing it? What's their ability? What's their efficacy? What's their confidence? All of these sorts of questions get explored as a part of the evoking task. And this is where those OR skills, those person-centered OR skills are now used, same skills, but now they're used directionally to cultivate and respond to a person's motivation or change talk. And in this evoking task, if you're really hearing some of that change talk, if you're hearing some motivation, then the last task of motivational interviewing is to go to a plan. Well, what's a goal that you want to work on? How might you achieve that goal? And we continue the motivational interview into planning. So to summarize here, what is motivational interviewing? It has 4 core fundamental tasks: engaging, focusing, evoking, planning. There's a core set of skills summarized by ORs that are used in each task. And the bottom line is MI is evidence-based for helping people to change and to grow. Okay, how did I do, Laura?
You did great, Scott. You did great. I loved how you framed it around the 4 processes. I think what's important to point out is that the very skilled and smart people who decided to even come and hear anything about MI, what I find is that anybody who's even willing to think about MI or is inquisitive about the science of motivational interviewing is a darn good helper already. And so it's easy to hear those descriptions. Well, I engage with people, I figure out who they are, and I let them know who I am because I'm a genuine, present human being. And then, we got to figure out what we're talking about, right? And then, we got to kind of fix the problem. That's generally how people practice, and they practice quite well. When they meet motivational interviewing, then we say, okay, well, we kind of have some suggestions for how you're going to do this engaging. And you mentioned that, Scott. You said that the engaging becomes very intentional and very rapid, right? We have ways of really deepening that connection right out of the gate because you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then the skillfulness in negotiating what it is you're going to talk about, that we add to people's existing knowledge around that. We add to their existing knowledge around how to establish who and how to establish what. Where motivational interviewing really differs is in that description that you gave about the process of evocation, the adding to people's understanding of why. And it's not our why, it's not the helper's why, it's the client's why. And that's what people tend to skip over. It's who are you? What are we talking about? How are we going to fix it, right? And they skip over that why. And then what happens is the how are we going to fix it, even when the client's highly participating in that, doesn't always stick. And as a matter of fact, more times than not, doesn't stick. And MI says, step back, spend some time on why on earth this person would want to go to school, would want to do something about their alcohol or drug use disorders, quit smoking, take medications for their depression, participate in better oral health routines, etc. And so when a person has a strong why, then the how is so much easier. And so that's really where we spend a lot of time in teaching people in motivational interviewing, using all of those OR skills and the things that Melody mentioned about eliciting change language and softening sustained language, helping people overcome this ambivalence that's a natural part of humanness.
Right. So learning MI, getting good at MI, it really does take good, solid services that are already being provided here for hundreds of people. And it helps to make those services great. And Laura is really highlighting 2 areas of MI that really go from good to great, and that's high quality engaging. And then, okay, we got the focus. Okay, now what's the plan and problem solving? No. Let's not skip the person's motivation, and motivational interviewing adds value there. Melody, Adrian, final thoughts before we wrap up?
Go ahead, Melody.
I just thought that was a great summary, and really really appreciate you explaining the definition of MI, and really noting what's going on in the Q&A. Extremely helpful from all of you who are participating in the webinar today. Adrian, over to you.
Yeah. I was also going to offer that one thing I have learned to really appreciate and love about MI. I shared at the start, I'm a social worker by training, and MI is used in so many professions in so many settings. So the skills that I have learned through MI, right, I can take that and apply it. And so, yes, we still get to be the experts in our professions, and there's a place for that. And these are really transferable skills. So I can sit down with almost anyone and engage in that conversation along, moving someone along a continuum, right? And they have what they need within them, and it's our job to help bring it forth.
Well, I want to say a huge thank you to the panel. You are so engaged and helpful, and let us, your excitement about MI really comes through. Ashley, if you want to open up the chat so that everybody can see the chat. I know that Scott's going to share the link to the book in the chat. The code that you see on the screen is the QR code that will take you to our website that talks in more detail about the courses that we mentioned today. So many of the questions that were posted in the Q&A about, how do I do this, or what is the hows of this? Those are the issues that come next. That is what is addressed in the courses that we offer. For those of you that are new to MI, it's the foundations course would go into all of those details in ways that we can't do in 1 hour. So hopefully you've come away with at least an interest in MI, or an interest in learning more about MI, or in furthering your MI skills. And please reach out if you have any questions. Take advantage of checking out our webpage for more information. I will put my email. I'm sorry, I'm not a great multitasker. I'm going to put my email into the chat if anybody would like to reach out to me with any questions or comments. So I appreciate your time and your interest, and you'll have to give me just 1 minute to type this in because I can't talk and type at the same time.
There's a couple things going into chat here as we're wrapping up, everybody. As Christy mentioned, the link to the most recent book, if you weren't aware of this new book, it's the classic text in the 4th edition. The original authors, Miller and Rolnick. Something to consider. You can't learn MI from a book, and it's a good place to start. And then we've talked a lot about the science of learning, cool meta-analysis, and then for the real research geeks, there's a link to 2,000 randomized clinical trials compiled over the decades.
Scott, is there do you know, I know that this has in the past been the case, that you could access the first chapter of the textbook for free from the publisher? So those of you who are like, what is MI? Man, what a great place to get a overview of MI from the voice of the person who developed this science. So I know you can get, if you just go to Guilford, you can get the first chapter of the text free, and it's a lovely, lovely summary.
I would be happy to stay on if people have additional questions. I'm trying to catch up on a few things from the Q&A. Reach out to us if you have questions. We appreciate your time and your feedback. Look forward to receiving a follow-up email, which will have a link to the recording from today. Go MI, right? And let's give a thanks to our panel for all of their time and their energy and being such great cheerleaders for MI.